This is a video for anybody who's not sure if they experienced trauma in their childhood, or even if they don't know what trauma is. I'm going to attempt to define it and give you some examples of the trauma that not everybody knows about. We know about the big traumas like war and death and car crashes, etc. But in my experience, there are many other more subtle traumas that lead to the same side effects. So my definition of trauma is any experience that unconsciously affects future experiences. So let me give you a couple of examples. An example of a non-traumatic experience is having a cup of coffee in the morning. We do it, we move through it, the experience moves through us, we move on to the next experience unchanged. But an example of a traumatic experience is one that changes us forever. I use me as an example. So in my childhood, my parents got divorced. And even though that's hard to pinpoint that as an experience in itself or a particular event or something that was traumatic, it was certainly something that affected my life seriously for many decades, and in a couple of ways. So firstly, physical. There was a lot of emotion around that experience, emotion that I wasn't able to process, a lot of anger, sadness, rage, guilt, doubt, all of it. And I couldn't process it all at the time, and it stayed with me. It stayed stuck in my body for many years, causing dysregulation of my nervous system, causing anxiety, causing fatigue, causing addiction, causing pain, causing many things. Also, the emotional side effects of that experience. My parents divorcing, my father leaving, and me taking it personally. Me taking it as a personal rejection that I wasn't worthy of him staying around. And even more importantly than that, me creating an unconscious decision at that time that I was never going to allow myself to be rejected. I was never going to put myself out there and shine my light so I could be rejected again. And that affected my whole life. That affected my relationships, my career, my purpose, my abundance, and everything. So that's an example of a traumatic experience. And others are things like just living with parents that are traumatized generally creates trauma. Separation, as I mentioned, alcohol abuse in the house, substance abuse in the house, punitive environments, violence in the house, being bullied at school, being labeled at school. Many more subtle experiences can cause trauma. So anything that causes us to shift, that causes us to change our behavior, that makes us feel unsafe, that creates stuck energy or stuck emotion in our body is traumatic because it changes us. It stops us from feeling safe. It stops us from acting in an authentic and purposeful way. If you've got any more questions on that, just give me a message, send me an email, and we can discuss it further.